Courage. It is defined as the mental or moral strength to persevere and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. In these uncertain and challenging times, courage is something we all seek to find in some way, almost every day. To speak about the importance of courage in the world today, please welcome Orchidea Foundation Advisory Board member and co-founder and chairman of Concordia, Nicholas Logothetis. Nick, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Laura. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start out by saying thank you to the entire Orchidea team for their hard work in hosting such an important event, and to offer a special thank you to Mike and Andy Manitos for inviting me to be part of this day. Even though we are gathering in a different way this year, I'm no less honored to be in such prestigious company. As an immigrant to this country who became a proud U.S. citizen 5 years ago, this day has always held a lot of meaning for me and my family. This year feels especially poignant as we recognize the 80th anniversary of Orchidea and all that it represents. It is a tough act to follow Prime Minister Mitsotakis, a leader whom I greatly admire, and I am proud to share this virtual stage with him. Thank you for your leadership. Recognizing courage and heroism, both of those who have gone before us and of the modern-day heroes who live among us, is what Orchidea has always been about. But it's difficult to think of a time when this has been more critical. This year, we face a global pandemic with parallel crises of economic uncertainty and social injustice. Grappling with these issues has required courage from all of us, in both big and small ways. When I think of courage in today's world, one of the things that comes to mind first is the heroic first responders who have been putting their lives on the line in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. The early and decisive action taken by the Greek government, as well as the heroism of Greece's first responders, have been an inspiration to the rest of the world as the pandemic took hold. Though there are still very difficult days ahead for Greece and beyond as it relates to the pandemic, it is my great privilege to be here to pay tribute to all those on the front line who helped avert what could have been a far greater death toll at the hands of this deadly disease. There are many quotations about what courage means exactly, but a unifying theme among them is that the idea that courage involves persevering despite fear, opposition, and resistance. This year's Orchidea honorees all embody the description. Today, we come together to recognize the Wuhan whistleblower doctors, who are the very definition of courage, risking their jobs, their safety, and their professional reputation to save the lives of others, both patients in Wuhan and others around the world, unaware of the full evil of this pandemic. We also remember Congressman John Lewis, who at the age of just 23 was the keynote speaker at the historic March on Washington, this just being one of the many incredible achievements in a lifelong commitment to the civil rights movement. Speaking out takes courage. Congressman Lewis also showed courage in his battle with pancreatic cancer, and although he lost that fight this year, his legacy will never be extinguished. We honor Dr. Costa, chief of the Critical Care Division at Mercy Medical Center in Baltimore, who was one of the thousands of medical workers who lost their lives fighting this pandemic. Dr. Costa continued to work in the ICU despite being immunocompromised, knowingly putting himself in harm's way to help his patients and the community. The epitome of courage. And finally, we recognize Steve Pisanos and Andrew Musalimas, two highly decorated World War II veterans, whose bravery and sacrifice exemplify why theirs was truly the greatest generation. As we fight a very different battle on the global stage this year, we remember people like these, who remind us of the resilience of the human spirit. For all of this year's honorees, the fight for our health and safety, as well as the fight to bring equality and freedom to all people, may have at times felt insurmountable, but giving up was and still is out of the question. Orchidea always brings to mind great and memorable acts of courage and heroism, but the power of that one word, Orchi, can equally apply to so many aspects of our daily life. No is always more difficult to say than yes. Humanity's shared compassion can lure us into becoming people pleasers, but those with true integrity are those who walk the less trodden paths and have the courage to say no. Be prepared to say no to people who are used to hearing yes, and never let loss of your integrity be the price of saying yes. As Steve Jobs once said, innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. In addition to recognizing courage and heroism, the purpose of this day is to celebrate the power of hope. I am thankful to have had the opportunity to remember those who are inspiring hope as we find our way through these difficult times and look to better days ahead. Thank you.